And I'm going to ask Senator Billy, you're on 3, to open us in a word of prayer, and then we will go from there. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for that you gave us the breath of fresh air this morning, Heavenly Father, and we thank you that you've given us a day that we can honor you, Lord, and we just ask you to continue to help us represent the great people of Georgia, Lord, and thank you for the rain, Lord, and thank you for the ability to be here and just work together. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay. We're going to kind of take some things out of order, but Senator Mcneil, we're going to ask you to come forward, please, and present your bill, if you will, please, ma'am. All right. And whose birthday is it today? Her daughter's. All right. Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
What?
My daughter the same age.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just going to count that.
Okay, that's good. Okay, well, happy birthday. We would sing to you, but we need to keep moving, doing that. Okay. Well, Senator Mcneil, if you will, we're going to look at SB 528, and if you will lead that off for us, and we'll give you, let's see, micro witness number 1, you are on.
All right. This is a simple bill that will make cosmetology and barbers essential workers if the governor declares a public health emergency in the future. Of course, we know that's less and less possible, but we still want to be ready. While you may think this is a luxury, but to many of the elderly, they depend on these workers who come to the nursing homes or visit them weekly for personal hygiene due to the fact that they're unable to perform their duty themselves. The bill will allow these cosmetologists and barbers to choose if they want to work if the state is closed down again. These workers were forced to find other means of support because most were not eligible for unemployment and do not receive stimulus checks. Now, my aide is the one who found about this and when she was traveling around, and she has a few things she would like to add.
All right. We're going to turn on your microphone, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And you
I
can
appreciate it.
give your full name, since we've
Leslie
already
Manukian.
introduced Senator Mcneil.
First of all, with the bigger cities that we have, it didn't seem to affect them or have as much problem with, people being able to get the help that they needed with their hygiene or washing hair. But in our smaller communities, in our rural areas, it was a problem, and a lot of these places were unable to reopen. They weren't able to go out and do what they needed to do, necessity for these older people. And I just feel like this gives the cosmetologists and barbers, the ability to choose if they do want to do it or if they don't want to go out there and do it and help these people that they need it.
It was my understanding that a lot of people were going without their hair being fixed and having
washed.
haircuts. And because they are independent contractors, there was no stimulus package for them at all. And this
Correct.
simply is declaring that they are needful. My wife, she needs to go to the beauty shop on a regular basis, and I do too, or either get a ponytail. So I think that's a good thing, and I think it's one of the things that people didn't think about during that time. Any other committee, any questions as far as the bill and what's going on? Any questions at all? Okay. Okay, a motion, you're a number. Okay.
Motion to pass.
Oh, all right, we got you.
You hear me?
You have a move to pass, all right, from Nick. And we got a second over here. I bet you both of you ladies like to get your hair done. I thought so as I was watching there. That's where that vote. Oh, yeah. All right. You too, right? You're looking for the barber, okay.
Oh, wait, I don't want to depend on him. Yeah.
All right, Senator Shake. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other questions? Any other thing? None? What's the pleasure of the committee? Okay, we got to do pass from Senator Hickman. Oh, skip. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to do it again. I was waving at you. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Okay. Senator Mcneil, all you have to do is to convince the rules chairman that he needs to get his hair done, and you'll be done. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Very good. Very good. Let's go ahead and Senator James, I think. Senator James, is she here? I do not see her. Let's go ahead then. SB 535, Senator Summers. SB 535, Senator Summers. We got the microphone back on, and we have heard this bill in a form, and we've had some work done on it. And I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll give kind of a quick summary of where the summation has been, and then we'll work from there. We're going to be working off of SB 535. LC is LC 540077S, and dealing with the issue of our homeless people. Is this there? You'll find that in the current format there are some various definitions that have been changed. We've defined local entities and counties and municipalities and who they are and their employees. It bans public camping and sleeping without the consent of a local entity, allows consent to be given for recreational camping or in accordance with a plan for sheltering the homeless as described below. The intent is a person is to consider how to show, a person to consider to show the intent to street camp unlawfully if they cook, make fires, store personal belongings, or there for an extended period of time dig holes and sleep. Law enforcement behavior when approaching an unlawful begins by advising those camping unlawfully of the places where they may legally camp is appropriate, and if appropriate, the officer is to contact the local governing entities to help them from that standpoint. Our issue here is really more of safety for them, and the testimony we took before, that was a real issue that was there from that standpoint. I think what it does, it's trying to create a safety net to help these people, and it's a challenge for what's going on. So Senator Summers, I'm gonna let you talk, and I know you've got a special guest,
right,
and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you.
And do that for us, if you will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for hearing this bill again tonight. Jared, please introduce yourself.
Jared Meyer, Executive Director of Cicero Action.
Okay, Jared.
And Jared just flew in all the storms to get here to be here. He left this morning to be here for this meeting this afternoon. And I thank the committee members for allowing us to meet, even though it's a late hour in the day. And I'll make it quick and short, and that way we can deal with it. A couple things I'd like to emphasize on your, if you have your bill in front of you, there's a few little changes that's been made. Can we go over those changes right now, Mr. Chairman?
Can.
Okay, on page 2. Everybody on page 2, line 25, it says the governing body or of a municipality or county, and we added or consolidated government. That was a discussion last week, Athens, Stark County, Columbus, Muskogee, etc. On line 29, a district attorney or, and we're striking out criminal district attorney and putting solicitor. So it'll be solicitor, where on line 29, it'll just be a district attorney or solicitor. Okay, as we move over on page 4, line 88 and 89 is completely out.
Okay.
Line 80 is completely out. Anybody has any questions, I can answer that for them, but it's pretty basic why it's out. Okay. On page 6, 123, the Attorney General may bring action in a district court in Fulton Superior Court, not county. We're striking out the word county. On line 134, it says the comptroller, and we're adding the word general. On line 134, we're adding the word the comptroller general. And basically that completes any changes, Mr. Chairman, that we have to the bill. And I want to reemphasize what you were talking about. You know, last week we got off on a tangent in some different things. And my intent, this bill's intent, and the people that's helped write this bill is simply, it's a twofold thing. You mentioned the word compassion. It is about compassion and it's about safety. And we got off last week talking about the city of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. And I want to stress this fact. The city of Atlanta, the new mayor, deserves the right to get everything right. And I pray for this man. I hope he can pull it all together. But Atlanta's only 500,000 plus or minus people. We're dealing with over 10,700,000 people in the state of Georgia. This is not an Atlanta bill. This is a state of Georgia bill. And the principles behind this bill obviously are tough when you start trying to do things that make changes in the world. But that's what we're here for. We're legislators. We have to do the tough things that make things right. And that's what I'm asking you all to read the bill and understand. You know, this has been done in several municipalities, several cities, several states around the world and around America, and it's working fine. And it does create change, and it does scare people. But I'd like for you all to ask any questions, or I'd like to Jared to give your summary on this and let you all know where we're at, what we did to change to get where we are here today, real quickly, because I know you got people who want to talk. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, Mr. Chairman, thanks for hearing this bill again. And Senator Summers, I want to thank you for your leadership on this issue. As a nonprofit policy group that is based in Austin, Texas, and was founded in San Francisco, we have seen what doesn't work on homelessness. And this is the state of Georgia saying we don't want to go down that same path that has not worked in other cities. It's not compassionate for the homeless. And as we just saw in LA, they're reinstating their street sleeping bans in many neighborhoods because 4 homeless individuals are dying every day on the streets of LA. Atlanta is nowhere near there yet, but this is what's coming. That death rate's higher than the death rate was for U.S. soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not compassionate, and moving people off the streets where they will succumb to their mental illness or their drug addiction if they don't get the help they need isn't going to work. It's not going to solve the problem, and it does threaten public safety. In fact, a recent poll in Georgia of 680 voters found that 7 in 10 registered voters in Georgia thought that homeless encampments threatened public safety. So this is about helping the homeless and also making the people who live in these neighborhoods feel more confident and more safe. So there's a bunch of examples in different cities. I know that probably the main point that inspired a lot of this bill is last year Texas passed a bill to do effectively the same thing that SB 535 is doing. And that went through with bipartisan support in the Senate right after Austin voters just voted to reinstate its street sleeping ban. So, you know, I think this is a precedent in action. It's something that's going to help solve the problem. Homelessness is very complex, but leaving people on the streets is always the worst available option. And this helps move cities in Atlanta towards solutions that do work. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we've got a question, Senator Say. Number 1. Or 2? We'll give you 2. Okay. 2? You got 2?
I did not have my hand up,
Oh.
but I'll go ahead and speak since you said something.
I can press the button the other way, either way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard you flew in today, and you're going to fly back out today?
Depends how late this hearing goes.
Oh,
That is.
okay. So you got it like that. But most of these people sleeping on the street don't got it. They couldn't have flown in from anywhere. Of course not. Homelessness is not something that we have to criminalize people for. And this is what I think we're doing. I just have a real problem, and I think I said this before, Mr. Chairman. It's what you do for the least of these. That's what thus says. And everybody claims to be a Christian, but everybody don't practice Christianity. I am really, really offended by the methodology in getting somebody, another state, to come in with this takeover and make everything rosy. I just think that we got advocates out here, we got people working, and I mentioned before about my own home church that's been dealing with the least, the less, and the lost as long as I can remember. But some of these actions is just cruel, in my opinion. And for that reason, I'm going to stop and let some others, because I really want to hear from the public. I don't want to spend the time as the legislator. I
We're
want
going
to
to
hear
have to
from the
be
public.
real limited on our time. I think, and as I address Senator Summers and Jared, is that I think in the current situation we're in, these people are on the streets in places that are unsafe. I know we had a testimony where one had to stay awake while the other slept just to keep their stuff that belonged to them. And as I understand this, is that the goal is to have a safe place, a safe haven for them to be able to be at and to be protected, if you will, from being attacked or the things that are, and to have facilities that are going on. And right now that seems to be, even with the help that we've got, this is to have a designated, would like for you to give us a little more, just, I call it hands-on experience of what you've seen, for instance, in the city of Austin, just really, because we're not trying to treat these people like second-class citizens. We want to love them where they're at, but in the street, it's hard to be able to do anything for anybody who's in the street. We need to have a place where we have facilities and we can help protect them from, how to say, other people from that and other predators. But could you give me just a brief, real quickly, of what you've seen in Austin and the other places?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for your commitment to helping the homeless. We are coming at it from trying to solve this problem as well, but what we've seen is in Austin, when they started enforcing their camping ban again, there were 0 arrests for someone being homeless. If this bill purely was trying to move homeless people from the streets to jail, that doesn't solve the problem. But what happens is when law enforcement has the backup to say, you aren't allowed to be here, let us help you move to a shelter where shelter beds are open and available, or safe areas where if someone wants to be in a tent, at least they can not worry about falling asleep at night and being attacked. So, Mr. Chairman, to point this out, there have been no arrests in Austin. Colorado Springs was another city that recently started enforcing its camping bans. 0 arrests. Again, people move in with families, they go to shelters, and when they're in shelters rather than scattered on the unsafe streets, it's much easier to get these individuals the help that they need and the safety that they need. Okay.
Yes, sir. Senator Summers.
Mr. Chairman, a follow, if you don't mind, and I appreciate what the senator from 34th had to say, but let me break this down. Let me break the crux of this down in a very simple sentence while I see this bill. First of all, no one's intention is to criminalize anyone. Okay, the Cicero Institute, Jared Meyer, get 0. There's nothing they're getting out of this. The reason they were asked to come in here to help because they have done it in several other cities and they have got a model that has worked. And so we simply brought them in with the hopes that they could bring something to the table to give us a guideline to go by that has worked in other cities that will work. That's why they're here. And last, let me say this nicely. When I say this bill doesn't criminalize anybody, what this bill does is it gives human dignity to a person. It gives a person where they can lay their head at night and have a safe place to sleep, like what's going on outside and it's storming and raining and whatever. And I'll promise you, if I drive back to where I spend the night in my nice little condo, I'm going to pass by dozens of people stuck in alcoves on these streets between here and back over to Centennial Park. That's just going to be out in the rain. They're going to be cold. They're going to be in a box. They're going to have newspapers wrapped around them. They're going to have sheets they find from anywhere and clothing and whatever. So my intention, and I want to respect what the Senator 34, is not to criminalize anybody. My intention, this bill's intention is for all of Georgia, not her district, not my district, all of Georgia to have human compassion and to be able to bring safety to people that can't find safety themselves. That's where we're at. That's what this bill's about. Bottom line. I won't take anything away from anybody. I want to make it better for people, and that's what we're supposed to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Merritt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few questions. What do these shelters look like? Describe to me what they look like, what you're proposing, and where are they going to be?
So, Senator, in this bill, it does not take a very prescriptive measure of what these shelters need to look like. There are a ton of advocates doing the Lord's work out on the streets right now. There are available shelter beds, but there could be even lower cost options, whether it's in I've seen in Phoenix, they have a parking lot that they turned into an area for homeless individuals to camp that has access to potable water. law enforcement and services. Austin has a fairly successful one that the state set up on state land. It's called the Esperanza Community, right north of the city, where individuals then are able to travel to the services they need as well. So it's, there's a bunch of different options. Every homeless person is unique. There's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution, but the point and what really animates us, and from what we've seen in other states, is, again, the street is always the worst option. There's maybe a place where you can set up your camp in a parking lot isn't ideal, but it's better than the streets. So.
Okay, and who will be in charge, or you're not from here, who's in charge of setting up and finding this location and maintaining the location?
Yes, Senator. In the bill, it mentions the Department of Community Affairs working with the cities collaboratively. So, it's yeah.
It's open-ended.
Right. Okay. So my next question is, I understand what you're trying to do. My question is, have you talked to the city of Atlanta? Have you had a meeting with them? Have you talked to advocates? Have you talked to community-based organizations to come up with a better solution? Because frankly, this solution sounds very inhumane and cruel. And we are criminalizing, those experiencing homelessness. If you have a provision in here to lock them up, that is criminalizing them. It also penalizes cities. And I know, for one, in my city's in Gwinnett County, I can't even see them agreeing to something like this. So, again, my question is, have you sat down, Senator, and talked to the city of Atlanta, some of our community-based organizations, our advocates who try to work with homelessness? Have you sat and talked to them about a better, humane plan?
The answer to that question is I have not talked to the city of Atlanta, but I have had emails from various cities across Georgia and county commissioners from around Georgia, and it's been roughly 50-50 on the ones for and against it. So the answer to your question is no, I've not spoken to the city of Atlanta. But once again, let me reinstate, this is not a city of Atlanta bill. This is a Georgia bill.
Okay,
so,
I understand. Have you talked to Gwinnett County?
Thank you.
Because we're almost 1 million people. So have you talked to Gwinnett County or my commissioners?
No.
Okay. My second question is, why aren't we not just asking the state to fund supportive housing or affordable housing instead of going with something like this? We could add it in the budget. I mean, we've been underfunding. We could add it in the budget. To me, that is...
Well, personally, I think it's been underfunded for a long time.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I really do. But I don't see...
If you will, hold off your applause so they can finish the conversations, please. Thank you.
I really do. I agree with you that things need to be added to the budget, but I'm not in control of the budget. But I would certainly advocate for adding more to it.
Okay. And I would just encourage you, I think that's a better route. I think that's a better way to go. Frankly, I think we should table this bill until we can have more input from the city. Our largest counties like Gwinnett, hear from them to come up with a better solution.
Senator, I understand your thoughts on this, but it stands to reason that this is not a new problem. It's been going on. I lived in Atlanta for 10 years. It was going on back in the 80s.
I'm from Atlanta.
So, I know what you're saying. So when you're saying when you talk to somebody, I don't think anybody has been talking about it. I think we've just been sort of just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? One more.
It's just a follow-up. I hear you. And basically, all I'm saying differently is, yes, we got a problem. But number one, we just got a new mayor in the city of Atlanta. We haven't given him a chance to roll out his thinking and what he plans to do about it. We are talking about going to Houston or Texas or wherever it is to do a model in Georgia, and we got a brand new mayor in the biggest part of the problem. I recognize homelessness is not just Atlanta, but the biggest part of it is Atlanta. We got a new mayor that I believe in, that needs an opportunity to show you what they can do rather than us, the state, saying, let's go do this with a legislation. I just disagree totally. Totally.
Thank you.
Senator Roberts, did you want to speak?
No, sir, I was just listening.
Okay. You got that? Oops, excuse me. Okay. That gets us kind of opening. We've got a list, and I don't know that we can hear everybody that we've got here. We've got a listing as far as that portion, and I don't know how to. You don't have it. We can't. What? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Senator, I will remind you, you also have Bill Jr., right?
Yeah. So we're gonna lose some people too, is my other part.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
can I make a
You can make a motion.
motion to table?
Motion to table.
Supersedes.
Okay.
I'm with her.
Okay. We've got a motion to table. You got a second as far as that portion there? Okay.
We obviously can't hear from everybody.
Yeah, we cannot hear from all of them. That's what I was looking at as far as that portion. It's just, there's no way to get it done today as far as that portion.
People's voice needs to be heard.
So I think the best thing to do is to vote on whether to table it or not. And all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll let it go that way. Okay. Okey-doke. Okay. So we will table that bill for right now. Okay. $5 don't get us. I just tabled it. Hey, excuse me. We've got one more bill, so if you can be quiet as you're leaving out. And Senator James, we're ready for you, please, if you will come forth. Oh, move the chair so I can. Okay. All right. Senator James,
Yes, sir.
you're going to be speaking to us on SB 272 LC 413036, if I am correct. And so I will turn
Can I
that
get a
over.
copy of it, please?
Do you have a copy? Get her a copy of.
What she need a copy of, sir?
The legislation
Mr. Chairman.
Morgan's got it. Morgan's got it.
and the summary.
Okay.
We're good.
We've got it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me scoot up. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Oversight Committee. Last year, at the beginning of the session, we introduced legislation to be proactive in moving forward in the state of Georgia. And we've talked to many people and worked with many people on this legislation. So before I say anything, can I say that we would like to propose to rename the commission from Racial Equality and Reconciliation Commission to Equity and Reconciliation Commission, because that's similar to some of the other states that have this kind of commission. We want to remove any reference of the term racial, because there are other issues that you look at, which would be, could be gender or could be age, etc. And so we wanted to also adjust the number of member appointments that would be composed on the commission, also to make sure that the lieutenant governor would have 6 instead of 3, as well as the governor having 6. And then 3, since this is a Senate commission, only 3 from the Speaker of the House. And then, of course, 1 from the committee, the department, and then hopefully the author of the legislation, if it seeks. And this is really a way of pushing equity and justice forward. The Georgia Coalition seeks to advance equity and combat division through this first ever statewide equity and reconciliation. So I would like to introduce Teos Wynn, and most of you know him because he worked with us last year from Georgia State Law School, and he was assigned to me, and even though I left in January, he continued to work with Julius Tolbert, who worked in Legislative Council, and with the other offices, and he helped to create this. Okay. We were asked by many of the local groups to try to put this together, and I even talked to Bernice King, who is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's daughter, and she has a what is that, Freedom something coming up? Week.
The Week of Nonviolence.
The Week of Nonviolence coming up, and she wanted to, she was hoping that we could address this and say that this is something that's forthcoming possibly. So I would like for, since Attorney Wynn wrote most of this with the former person in Legislative Council, I'd like for him to just give a statement of what it is and what transpired.
Okay, Mr. Wynn, if you would do that for us, we appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. And thank you so much for having me today. My name is Teos Wynn, and I'm a human rights advocate here in Atlanta. This particular piece of legislation that Senator James spoke to was really a collaborative effort, speaking to a number of individuals, both on campuses as well as in advocacy groups, and really looking for a way to promote justice, promote equity, and reconciliation. The amendment in terms of removing the word racial is really to expand the robustness of this commission so that it doesn't singularly or narrowly focus on solely just race, but opening it up because people experience inequities across the board, whether it's racial, whether it's gender, whether it's economic. And so we wanted to be able to have the flexibility in the commission to focus on inequities across the board. In addition to that, reconciliation, just to be clear, what we're referring to is really amending relationships, bringing people together and having an incubator of sorts to formulate collaborative solutions, equitable solutions for the state of Georgia. So coming together, being able to discuss these, not only just among legislative members, but also among advocates from the community and organization experts in the subject matters of equity and reconciliation. And so that was the initial thought process behind this commission, and to have a perpetual mechanism wherewith we can affect change year after year by formulating an agenda and being able to birth equitable solutions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Questions from the committee? Anybody? You're number 3. Number 3, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing this up. Clear up something for me. I noticed, and maybe I just misunderstood something or I didn't hear it correctly, but did you say earlier that the word racial is going to be taken out of this title?
Yes, I'm preparing an amendment, and it didn't come to me. I didn't know that I was coming here until today, and so I'm preparing that amendment that would, I think one of the attorneys is here right now, but it would just remove the word racial, and the main reason is what Attorney Wynn just said, because we want to make sure that we expand it to economy, the age, or gender problem, whatever may come up. So we're trying to eliminate those things from coming up and causing havoc with even us when we're talking about things, so that we can make sure that we all know all the information, and we have the experts that are willing to research this or talk about it before we even, and we all know that the best way to eliminate problems is, number one, communication. So this group would be the ones who talk about it and who would come to some possible solutions.
So, Mr. Chairman, would the senator eliminate the word racial? Is that got to be amended in here, or has that got to be presented? How does that work?
We could do it as an amendment on the title as far as that portion, and we got Ledge Counsel with us. Yep. You can handle that for us, can you not?
If we're gonna make more changes throughout, I think we should.
Excuse me.
Probably all.
Don't.
Did you say as a substitute? Is that what you were saying?
Well, it depends on how many, because I was kind of removing the term racial.
But it's only, let's see, did you look at how many times we have to remove it?
Yes, sir. I'm going to give you Senator Roberts. Okay.
A point of order to Ledge Counsel, if you find it in there multiple times, is each one an amendment to do this, or?
Can't you do one?
So we would need to amend on each line?
If there are more than just a few changes, we would have to do it as a substitute.
Yes, ma'am. And so would that qualifies more than a few?
One, two, I mean,
If it's the consistent change?
So it's mentioned in 3 lines.
it's only mentioned 3 times. in this
Because
list.
if it is permissible, I will make that amendment or ask for that amendment from the chair.
Are you okay with that? Okay. Senator Roberts, you're making an amendment?
I am making that amendment
Thank you.
as articulated by the author.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We got a second? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can you
sir.
tell me which lines you're talking about?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
his
Yeah.
eyes are better than mine.
Yeah.
My glasses back here.
I'm-
Okay, in the title.
Yeah,
Are
please.
you
Title.
counting that as well?
12.
Sure. So in line 12, it's mentioned. If you come down, it's also mentioned on
36.
line 38.
What about 36?
36, 38.
What about 36?
36 and 38.
Huh, 36?
36 and
So
38.
there's twice in 36 and one in 38, correct?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
So it's four changes in.
1, 2.
Okay.
but it's in that one. One is in the same
Yeah,
line.
I'm not making, I'm just saying,
And-
I'm trying to get in my mind,
And 4.
because if I'm
Thank
gonna
you, sir.
vote for something, I need to know how many times we come.
Right.
Thank you.
We got
Absolutely.
line-
Thank you.
In line 47, you've got it too, there, I believe it. So we'll have that. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
47,
line 47
Can you
also.
handle that for us as far as an amendment to do that? So the amendment would be to mark out racial in those various places, and that would be an amendment to this bill.
I think the amendment would be to remove the word racial from each individual line.
Correct.
As quoted, and then seconded by Senator
Okay,
Jackson.
we got
Yes.
Senator Jackson. Okay, we're there. All right, let's take that, and hang on. Senator Say.
No, I'm just ready to vote.
Okay. One second. Senator Roberts.
And with that amendment, I would make the motion do pass LC 413036 as amended.
As
So
amended,
or would
okay.
it be as a committee
We
substitute?
got a second? Okay. got a second there, okay. Any other discussion? None? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All right, you're off to see rules.
Thank you very much.
Okie dokie. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Have we got to reconsider? Let's see. Number 7, Senator Dugan. 5, excuse me, 5, okay. All right, Senator Dugan.
So I understand that Senate Bill 535 was put on the table.
Yes, it was.
I move that we remove it from the table.
Move it from the table. All right. Got a second from Senator Bo Hatchett and no, okay. All in favor, bring it off the table. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. And all opposed? 4, 5, 4. So she's alive again on SB 535 LC 4. Excuse me, 5-4. Point of order, yes, sir.
Chair, should the record read that it was a 4-4 tie? Broke him out of the chair.
That would be correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're back to the bill as it is. All in favor? We've taken it off the table. It's on the table. All in favor? Raise your hand. Excuse me?
No, that was to take it off.
What? That's off the table, open for discussion. If there's any more discussion. Motion, committee. Let's see, hold on, we got 1 quarter. 6.
May I be recognized?
Yes, you're recognized. Excuse me, Senator Jackson. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for recognizing me. I want to acknowledge that we had a long list of people who were here to testify about this bill, and many of them are no longer in this room anymore because they thought that it was over, and I simply want to go on record of noting that we had a room full of people who were citizens of this great state who objected to this bill for reasons of great merit and of great concern. And so I think that there was a reason why we tabled it was because we wanted to hear from all of those people. And you all have essentially circumvented that opportunity here by doing this. And so I just want to go on record as noting that we had a room full of people, great citizens who do this work, who work very hard, who were here to testify against this bill, and they are not able to be here. But there are a few people who are still here, and I hope that you will allow them to speak.
Question, Mr. Chair. Did they not get to speak?
That we did not speak. They had spoken in the previous meeting. There had been testimony as far as that. And we were losing our people. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. To clarify for the leader, a motion was made to table the bill prior to anyone speaking, and it got tabled. And I conveyed that I was concerned that motion was made, but it had nothing to do with the chairman not listening. It was the motion was made prior before anybody could come up and speak.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
would it be possible to ask for a 2-minute recess?
Okay.
And have this conversation?
Okay.
Thank you.
2-minute recess. table. It's live. Testimony-wise, we've got some folks that are here to testify, is what I understand. I'm looking for the sheet that was here. It's not, so I'm going to ask you if you're here, since this is the only bill, if you'll come up and if you will introduce yourself, who you are, and you will speak. We'll go ahead and at least take testimony now. And I believe you're with the City of Atlanta, is what I remember. So come right on up, and we will.
I have pictures as well.
Okay, thank you.
It's late, so pictures are helpful, right? So good evening. My name is Kenyatta Mitchell, Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for the City of Atlanta. First off, I'd like to say that the Senator and I have not had an opportunity to speak to each other by no fault of either one of ours. So I would like to have that opportunity to speak. I know that I speak to him before we go further with this legislation. There are many things in the legislation that I have noticed because I spoke to a previous LC. There's a new LC. There's still punitive portions of this bill against nonprofits that, even though it doesn't say nonprofits, the fact that our vendors are nonprofit organization, it would go against our vendors. So I want to make sure that I have the proper opportunity to let them know about the amount of money they could be losing with this. I also I've heard quite a bit about the City of Atlanta not doing anything about its homeless, well, the City of Austin and LA and all these other places. But I wanted to show you some photographs. So if y'all could take this into the record.
Okay.
Before and after. The before is the bad picture, the after is. And we've been cleaning up the situation. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Jackson. Okay, we're going to take some more testimony. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion do pass.
Hold on. Okay.
We don't have a sign-up sheet here, so I would like to make a motion do pass.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion to not pass it.
I like the first one. Hold
Sorry,
on.
thank you for giving me credit.
Wait just a second. We were taking testimony, and I think we've got some more testimony coming back forth. Hang on just a second. Let Senator Summers forward.
There's no more testimony.
Hold on just a second. Do we have anybody? Do we have any others? Here, I can just call the names as far as that. Yeah, here's the list. Let's see, we have a Leslie, Shannon.
I'm Elizabeth Apley, Mr. Chairman.
Ma'am?
I'm Elizabeth Apley. I think I'm
Okay. Elizabeth, come on. Why don't you come on up, okay? She's right there. Apley, yeah. Here she is.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Elizabeth Apley, members of the committee. I represent Georgia Advancing Communities Together, Presbyterians for a Better Georgia, 9 to 5, Enterprise Community Partners, and the Georgia Supportive Housing Association. We do oppose this legislation. The author of the bill went through changes that he highlighted, which were changes to the sub that we received this morning. The bill does not resemble the original SB 535. It's in fact an engraftment of the Texas bill, whole cloth, into SB 535. I think it was emphasized by the Mr. Meyer that people living on the street is the worst possible outcome, and what this bill contemplates with these parking lot encampments is precisely that. People are still sleeping out in the cold. They are exposed to the rain. They're exposed to the elements, to the consequences of disease from living in close quarters without adequate sanitary provisions. There is no funding in this bill to provide access to shelter, to transition housing, to permanent supportive housing, to mental health services, or any of the proven best practices which we know lead to the end of homelessness.
Okay.
Is this okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, that's
I'm
better.
sorry.
Thank you.
This bill continues to criminalize homelessness and penalize cities and counties from receiving any state grant funds of any kind whatsoever. So that's homelessness funds, it's public safety funds, it's funds for food, it's funds for every aspect of state government is encompassed within those state grants that are barred under this legislation, under the sub before you. It's been said that the sponsor, and I certainly trust his heart, but I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing law for over 40 years, and there is no question that this bill criminalizes homelessness. I refer you to line 39 to 41 that creates a new crime. A person commits an offense if the person intentionally or knowingly camps in a public place without the effective consent of the officer or agency having the legal duty or authority to manage the public place. And then to underscore the clarity of the criminalization on line 58, subpart D, an offense under this code section is a misdemeanor. That's a crime. The punishment for which is up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. In addition, you will see that on line 81, it specifically contemplates an individual being arrested or detained On line 115 to 119, the bill prohibits a local entity from adopting a policy prohibiting or discouraging the enforcement of any public camping ban, and those are criminal laws. So they are prohibited from failing to enforce criminal camping bans. Then the Attorney General is authorized to bring suit in Fulton County in order to enjoin any jurisdiction that fails to criminalize homelessness. And the consequence for a judicial determination on that issue then results in the loss of all state grant funds to that municipality or county. So we know, and the witnesses who were here this afternoon to testify to you would have told you that criminalizing homelessness does not solve homelessness. Putting people into parking lots does not take them off the street. Homeless people cannot pay the fines that continue to follow them for years and make it harder for them to be restored to their communities and out of homelessness. And the incarceration of people, that's a strategy that Georgia has tried for years. We hear over and over again that the largest provider of mental health services in the state is the prison and jails of this state. It's the most expensive and least effective way to address homelessness or mental health or substance use issues. And that's why the Speaker of the House and the leadership of both the majority and minority parties passed today House Bill 1013, which in significant part focuses on the diversion of people with mental health and substance use disorders away from the criminal justice system, away from arrest and detention, and into the provision of mental health services.
Okay.
And just last week, the Senate passed unanimously SB 403, which is all about diverting people with mental health and substance use disorders away from the criminal justice system. Okay. I believe it was Mr. Glock who testified last week on this bill that 75% of the unsheltered, chronically homeless people that this bill purports to address have those mental health and substance use disorders.
If you would try to wrap up in the next 30 seconds or so, I think we've got a couple of others that want to speak. Please, ma'am.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would urge you not to move this bill forward. We had a room full of people prepared to testify. If you are going to go forward, I would urge you to consider these amendments on line 115 and 16. you'll see that it says a local entity shall not adopt or enforce a policy under which the entity prohibits or discourages the enforcement of any public camping ban. I would urge you to strike or discourages. It's overly broad, it's vague, and it's unenforceable. And furthermore, it directly contradicts subpart C at lines 120 and 121, which says that this code section shall not prohibit a policy that encourages diversion or the provision of services in lieu of citation or arrest. So again, we're talking about citation or arrest, the criminalization of homelessness, and subpart A says you must enforce. This is the part that gives the Attorney General the power to go to court. So you cannot reconcile A and C. In addition, it was told to me that the provisions on lines 102 through 111 that identify what a jurisdiction must submit in their plan for an encampment under this bill. An encampment, of course, means no shelter. It means a parking lot.
Okay.
And what was described to me is that instead of this plan having to provide access to mental health services and provide access to health care and provide access to transportation and law enforcement and the rest, that instead all that the plan has to do is describe whether or not such is available, and if it's unavailable. So I would urge you to consider an amendment after the word describe on line 102 to say describe how the applicant intends to provide. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Appling. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We had someone else that I thought I saw back here was going to speak or wanted to speak. Let me hold on just a second. Before I take any more senators, I'm going to try to. Did we have someone else who wanted to speak?
No, we're going to forego our testimony.
Okay. Senator Jackson.
I'd like to make the motion that this does not pass.
Does. Hold on before you take. I think we should hear. Come on, Senator Summers. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I don't really want this to be a controversial bill. That is not my intent. I understand some of my colleagues are not for this. I don't know the true reasoning behind why they're not for this, because I obviously don't live in Gwinnett County or in the city of Atlanta to deal with what they deal with every day or see what they see every day. But this has been going on a long time. And this bill here, you know, I wanted to move this bill into get it to rules, to at least open discussion of it. We can discuss it on the floor. We can get where we need to talk about this bill here. But, you know, it seems that change never is something everybody wants to do. And I understand the fear and the anxiety, and I don't want to hold the mayor back. I want this young mayor to make Atlanta great. Absolutely. I have no issues whatsoever with that. I do. I'll support this man to make Atlanta great. But once again, there are other cities and counties and municipalities in this state that have homeless issues. I just want to find a place to go that's safe. I mean, I know with the word criminalization keeps coming up. If you don't have a way to tell somebody to move, if you get a ticket today, if somebody pulls you over and you don't stop, you're not only going to get a ticket, you're going to get arrested. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you're in the mall and you're causing trouble, or you're in a building causing trouble, and they tell you to get out and you don't leave, guess what? No. You're going to get arrested. I mean, I don't know how to say it without putting a little teeth into the bill to get the answer. Now, I'll assure you this. I was a county commissioner, Mr. Chairman. I was a county commissioner. Never did we want to arrest a homeless person, because if you arrest someone, you basically own that person when they go to jail. You have to take care of their medical needs. And I don't want that to happen. So anyway, the point I'm trying to say is I would like to move this bill forward if possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Hold on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion.
You can go. Do you pass? You have a second? I'm recognizing the motions and according to the rules. You have motions. We have a second. Second on his motion. Senator Hickman, okay. Yeah, he made the motion. You were a second, okay. Okay, doke. With that, all in favor, raise your hand. 3, 4, and all opposed? It's tied, and I'll break the tie. In favor, what? In favor, I'm in favor, yeah. And we'll do that for you. And the final vote is 4-5, and 5-4 in favor, and with the chairman. And we're just, this is LC 540077S. What? 4-4, Chairman broke. He said, we need to include that. And that's your, what? And we're adjourning. Thank you.